It's been years since it all happened, long enough that I've built an entirely new life, with new friends and new routines. And not a single person in this new chapter of mine knows a thing about what went down. But tonight, I've got a good bottle of wine open, the night's quiet, and I figure it's time to finally let this story out. So here I am, letting my fingers do the talking. Back then, I really thought I'd found the one. We met during my last year of college, just by chance at a party. You know how sometimes you just click with someone? That's exactly what it felt like. Instant connection. No games, no awkward small talk, just two people who couldn't stop smiling at each other. She was stunning. Blonde, golden skin like she lived on the beach, the kind of figure that could have landed her on the cover of a magazine, think Kate Upton, but with even more warmth in her eyes. But it wasn't just her looks. She had this calm, caring way about her. She listened when I talked. She remembered little details. And she had this full, vibrant life, surrounded by a tight-knit group of friends. What made it even better? She got along with my friends, too. Over the next 3 years, it was like our lives just blended. Our circles became one, people from both sides started dating each other, and honestly, it was one of the best stretches of my life. I was grinding through a post-grad program in finance, and she had just wrapped up a degree in contractual law. We were both heading into solid careers. And not to toot my own horn, but I wasn't exactly hard on the eyes either, about 5 feet 11 inches, 190 pounds, gym a few times a week. Not shredded, but definitely solid. The funny thing is, I've always been kind of shy. Didn't have much experience dating before her. But with her, it all felt easy. From that first night, we were practically inseparable. We talked for hours. Then came the non-stop texting, late-night phone calls, weekend dates, and about a year in, right when I landed my first real job, she moved in. Her family welcomed me in right away. Her mom especially, we clicked almost instantly. Her dad. Bit more reserved, kind of kept to himself, but that was just who he was with everyone. Those first couple of years together were unreal. We took trips overseas, went hiking through national parks, splurged on a few fancy vacations. Everything felt like a dream. So when I proposed 2.5 years in, it just made sense. She said yes, and I felt like the luckiest man alive. She dove right into planning the wedding. We started sketching out what our future would look like, buying a house, raising kids, traveling the world together. I was all in. And then, things shifted. It was subtle at first. We'd both get home from work, and she'd be a little off. Less touchy, less talkative. I noticed right away because we were always affectionate. But I brushed it off. Everyone has off days, right? At first, it was rare, maybe once a week. She'd pull back for a bit, then bounce back like nothing happened. But over the next few months, that distance started showing up more often. I didn't panic, but I started paying attention. I had this habit of listening to Reddit stories on YouTube, those deep dive relationship posts, and something told me I needed to just watch. So I did. She'd go cold for a couple hours, then everything would go back to normal. Still great in bed. Still had a solid relationship with her parents. But the emotional temperature in our place kept dipping. 6 months later, wedding just a year away, it was happening almost every night. Then Thanksgiving came. We traveled to her parents' place in Louisville, Kentucky. We were living just outside D.C. at the time. Normally, it was fun being there. But that trip? She was cold toward me, right in front of her mom. And her mom. She noticed everything. I could see it in her eyes, something wasn't adding up. At one point, she pulled her daughter into the kitchen for a chat, and even from the other room, I could hear their voices getting louder. They were arguing. They came back to the living room like nothing had happened. Smiles, small talk, and that weird tension in the air that only I seemed to notice. I waited until later that evening to bring it up. Just the two of us. When I asked her what the argument was about, she got quiet. She said we'd talk once we got home. I didn't push it. I loved her. I believed in us. I thought whatever it was, we could handle it together. That night, I couldn't help but notice how much her mom reminded me of her. Same striking features, same long, thick blonde hair, just with some elegant streaks of gray starting to show. That resemblance, it stuck with me for a reason I didn't understand yet. But I would. Once we were back in DC, I circled back to the conversation. She still wouldn't open up. I let it go for a few days, but after a week of gentle pressing, she finally admitted that there was a guy at her office who had been trying to get closer to her. She said she wanted to be honest with me, to keep everything above board, and even offered to show me her phone. But something was off. The texts she did show me were all clean, too clean. What caught my attention was the obvious absence of messages. All those nights when she'd withdrawn from me. Nothing was there. Just gaps. Long ones. Empty spaces where there should have been conversations. I didn't say anything out loud, but inside, I felt a shift. That little voice in my head, that gut feeling, started whispering louder. That same night, I went into her phone settings and quietly turned on location sharing. Since we were on the same phone plan, it wasn't hard. Honestly, I wasn't trying to catch her doing something wrong. I thought it would reassure me. I wanted to be proven wrong. I really did. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. 2 weekends after Thanksgiving, her company held its annual Christmas party. I was supposed to go with her, but I came down with a brutal case of food poisoning. I mean brutal. Couldn't leave the bathroom kind of brutal. She was still planning on going, her friend was picking her up, they'd arranged a designated driver, and they had a full night out planned. I told her to enjoy it, that I'd be fine, and I meant it. I didn't want to ruin her night just because I was curled up in a ball, dying from every angle. So there I was, stuck between the toilet and the floor, flipping between shivers and nausea, and just to pass the time, or maybe to distract myself, I pulled out my phone and checked her location. At first, nothing seemed weird. She went to the restaurant. Then the company event. Then a bar. All expected. I even smiled at one point. She was having fun, just like I told her to. But then the little dot on the map stopped moving. And it stopped at a downtown hotel. I just stared at the screen. Everything in me shut down. Physically, emotionally, even spiritually. I was already emptying myself from every end, but now my soul joined in. I passed out around 2 a.m. from sheer exhaustion and dehydration. When I woke up at 7, I checked her location again. Still at the hotel. Noon rolls around, and she finally walks through the door like nothing's happened. I was starting to feel a little better physically, but mentally, not so much. She came over, kissed me, cuddled up to me like she missed me. I didn't mention the tracking. I just asked how her night went. She said the restaurant was great, the party was fun, the bar was lively, and then she claimed she crashed at her girlfriend's place afterward. That was the first lie I knew was a lie. Over the next 3 months, her work hours started stretching longer and longer. 3 or 4 nights a week, she wouldn't be home until late. And every time I brought it up, even casually, she got defensive. Sharp. Cold. One night, after another long solo dinner waiting for her, I called her mom. We still talked from time to time, and that night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I asked about the conversation they'd had back at Thanksgiving. She was hesitant at first, but eventually, she admitted she had a bad feeling too. She said, something in her body language, the way she talked around you, it felt off. She also mentioned that even she had been feeling some distance, her daughter had become short and distant in their regular texts. That hit me hard. Because if her mom was seeing it too, I wasn't just imagining things. But I didn't confront my fiancée, not yet. I bottled it all up, trying to keep the peace. Then, 2 weeks later, something changed on my end. At work, I was assigned to lead a new project. It was a big one, career-defining. But it meant flying out to the Midwest every week, Monday to Friday, for the next 5 weeks straight. And that's when things took a turn I never could have expected. The promotion came with a generous raise, and when I told my fiancée, she lit up. Said she was proud of me. Excited. But there was something about her smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. At the time, I told myself I was being paranoid. Still, something in me stirred. That night, while she was asleep, I pulled out my laptop and ordered 4 motion-activated security cameras. Discreet, small, Wi-Fi enabled, but on a hidden network. No one would see them listed in the devices. Password protected. Silent. I placed them strategically, one in the living room by the entry, one tucked above a kitchen cabinet, one peeking down the hallway, and one in the bedroom, aimed just right. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed the truth. I needed peace, or confirmation. The first week I was gone, I watched everything. The first 2 nights, she had her girlfriends over. Laughed, drank wine, danced in the kitchen like old times. And she didn't work late once. So far, so good. Then came Wednesday. That night, a guy showed up. At first, I thought maybe it was just a friend. I told myself to breathe. But then, things escalated. Fast. There I was in some sterile hotel room, watching my life fall apart on a little screen. They didn't even make it past the living room couch. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It felt surreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I screamed at the monitor, cursed, cried, clutched my head. I was completely undone. Then, as if it couldn't get worse, my phone rang. It was me. I had called her, just to check in. On the screen, I watched her pause, this guy mid-act, reach for her phone, and answer it like nothing was going on. She told me she was out of breath from working out at the gym. I'll never forget that moment. That exact second. Her voice, smooth and steady, weaving lies like it was second nature. The call ended, and without a word, she went right back to doing exactly what she was doing before. I don't remember much else from that night. I think I sat there for hours, just staring. Not at the screen, not even at the wall. Just blank. Friday evening, I came home. She greeted me like nothing had happened. I didn't say a word. Just went straight to bed. Saturday morning, I got up early and went out on my bike. I pedaled like I was trying to outrun my own skin. Past the suburbs. Through trails. Over hills. I didn't stop until my body gave out. When I finally looked at the tracking app, I had biked over 105 miles. My previous best was barely 30. I had no destination, just a need to move, to feel something other than heartbreak. When I got home, sore and sunburnt, I showered in silence. That night, we went out with friends. Smiled. Laughed. Drank too much. I played the role. Pretended like I wasn't dying inside. Meanwhile, she danced next to me like she was living her best life. The pain was unbearable. She used to be so present, so loving. Now she was a stranger in the body of someone I adored. Eventually, I broke down and told one of our mutual friends. I couldn't carry it alone anymore. He looked down. Sighed. And told me the truth. Everyone had known. They'd known for months. They said they didn't know how to tell me, that they felt sorry for me, that it was too awkward. But still, they stayed silent. One by one, they started distancing themselves. Stopped inviting us out. I hadn't noticed it before. But looking back, it was all so obvious. The betrayal ran deeper than just her. And still, I wasn't ready to let go. I don't know if it was love, denial, desperation, or just plain stubbornness. But that next weekend, I planned everything. Booked a spa day. Cooked her favorite meals. Bought flowers. Lined up her favorite movies. The works. I was going to win her back. Even if I already knew I'd lost her. That weekend, I pulled out all the stops. I pampered her. Candlelit dinner, her favorite wine, slow music in the background. Massaged her shoulders, held her hands, looked her in the eyes and reminded her how much I loved her. We talked about the future, dream vacations, babies, houses, growing old together. She smiled. She even laughed a few times. Then, after her 4th glass of wine, she broke. Tears started sliding down her cheeks without warning. Her mascara smudged slightly, but she didn't even notice. The guilt was finally clawing its way out. I asked what was wrong, gently, hoping, begging, that she'd just say it. Let it out. But every time she opened her mouth, she choked on the words. I took her hands in mine and said, listen, if there's anything you've done, or anything you're struggling with, just tell me. We can talk about it. I believe in forgiveness. We can move forward. I just want the truth. All she could say through her tears was, I love you so much. And that's what hurt the most. Because by then, I had 4 separate videos. 4 nights. 4 betrayals. All in the apartment we shared. Our home. Still, I tried. Every single weekend, I did everything I could to reach her. Surprises. Thoughtful gestures. Breakfast in bed. Little notes. Late night talks. But with each passing week, she drifted further away, like a boat unmoored, slipping quietly out to sea. After 8 weeks, I hit a wall. I realized I couldn't fix this. I couldn't reach her. I couldn't erase what I'd seen. So instead of begging for scraps of affection, I shifted gears. I crafted an exit plan. Step 1, gather the evidence. Already done. Step 2, figure out a way to get her out of the house so I could make my move. I booked a 2-week luxury getaway to Barbados. All-inclusive. Beachfront. 5-star. She was over the moon. Then, a week before the trip, I told her I couldn't go. Work emergency. I told her to take a friend. She barely blinked. No protest. No disappointment. She just asked if a coworker could come instead. That was all the confirmation I needed. Step 3, cancel the lease. I was the only one on it, and it conveniently ended 3 days into her trip. Step 4, accept a new job. The company I'd been consulting for out in the Midwest made me an offer, more money, new city, clean slate. Step 5, find a new place to live. I signed a lease before she even packed her sunscreen. Once she left for the airport, the real plan went into motion. Step 6, I dropped her off at departures, hugged her goodbye, wished her a great trip. Then drove straight back to our place and started boxing up every last one of her things. Step 7, bought a new phone, got a new number, new email. Wiped myself off the digital map. Step 8, closed our joint accounts, split the money. I put her half in an envelope and packed it with her stuff. Every penny. I wasn't going to give her anything to hold over me. Step 9, called the movers and had them take my belongings out west. Step 10, loaded her boxes and bags into the back and bed of my F-250, drove 600 miles to her mother's house. Everything fit. Every piece of clothing, every book, every keepsake. Tetris packed into that truck. Step 11, I handed her mom the box of evidence, every video file on a USB stick, and told her what had been going on. Her mom didn't say much. Just nodded slowly. She already knew, deep down. And finally, step 12, I drove away. I didn't look back. I made sure nothing she owned was missing. Everything was intact. Labeled. Clean. Neatly folded. Packing it all nearly broke me. I cried harder than I ever had in my entire life. But when I closed that truck bed and turned the key in the ignition, I knew. This was the beginning of my life. Not the life I had dreamed of with her. But one where I could finally breathe. I used to read those stories on Reddit, you know the ones. Someone catches their partner cheating, the partner swears it'll never happen again, and then, of course, it does. They never stop. I didn't want to believe mine would be one of those stories. I was still holding out hope, maybe she'd confess. Maybe we could heal, somehow. Maybe she'd meet me halfway. But she never did. There were 2 times she came close. Her lips trembled. Her eyes filled with tears. But whatever truth lived in her chest was too heavy to lift out. So she buried it, again and again. Then came Tuesday morning. I left our apartment near DC for the very last time. 10 hours later, I pulled up to her mother's house. I thought I was ready for anything. I wasn't. She lived in one of those gated communities, so I had to buzz in from the front entrance. When I drove up, she was already outside waiting for me. Eyes red. Face streaked with tears. I stepped out of the truck, and before I could say a word, she wrapped her arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. I think my husband is cheating on me, she whispered through broken breaths. With someone younger, prettier, thinner. I didn't even know what to say. I just held her. 10 whole minutes. She soaked my shirt with every tear. Eventually, I asked if we could go inside and talk. We sat down in the living room. I asked where her husband was. She said, fishing trip with his buddies. Remote cabin, about an hour away. Then she added, he hates fishing. That's when the alarm bells started ringing. She laid it all out. The little signs. The excuses. The way he had started dressing differently. The way he guarded his phone. She had suspected something for almost a year. We did some quick digging. Turns out, there was a hold charge from a luxury hotel just 20 minutes away. A single phone call confirmed he had booked a 4-night stay there. He wasn't in a cabin. He was wrapped in silk sheets with someone else. I shook my head. 2 peas in a pod, I said under my breath. What? She asked. I looked at her. Your husband is cheating on you, and your daughter is cheating on me. Her jaw dropped. She blinked, stunned. Then I handed her a thick binder full of screenshots, stills from the videos, time-stamped proof. She flipped through the first few pages, her face going pale. And then she just broke. We both did. We held each other and cried like our worlds had fallen apart. Because they had. After a long silence, she wiped her tears, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "All right. That's enough crying." She stood up, walked to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of Moscato and 2 glasses, then turned to me with the faintest smile. "Tonight," she said, "there's nothing we can do about any of it." Then, with a glimmer of something wild in her eyes, she added, "Except maybe crack open these bottles and get a little revenge of our own." She strolled out to the pool deck and called back over her shoulder, "You coming out here, or are you just gonna sit there and be the nice guy who got screwed over? Now. I'll let you fill in the blanks. Let's just say the next couple of days were cathartic. Intense. Liberating in a way I can't quite describe. When it was time to go, we hugged. Tight. One last kiss. One last glance. Then I got in my truck and headed west. She promised to keep me updated. And when my ex finally got home from her little island escape, the real story was just beginning. The day she came back from her trip was legendary. By that point, my phone was already disconnected. I had canceled it that morning. So, when her plane touched down and she tried to call for a ride, all she got was the dull thud of a disconnected line. She ended up calling the one person she knew would still come, her lover. He dropped her off at the apartment. Except, of course, it wasn't our apartment anymore. When she walked up to the door, a new couple, sweet, older folks who had just signed the lease, answered it with confused smiles. She completely lost it. I can only imagine how many times she tried to reach me. Call after call. Voicemail after voicemail, all swallowed by the void. She had no idea where I was. With nowhere to go, she crashed at her girlfriend's place for a while. The one she used to party with. The one who, as it turned out, knew everything. Her coworker, the guy she had been seeing, couldn't take her in, he was already married. Yeah. Married. Eventually, in a full-blown panic, she called her mother. Her mom calmly explained that I had come by, dropped off all of her things, neatly packed, nothing missing, and even left her money. All of it. 600 miles away. She didn't tell her about what happened between us those few days. She didn't say how we poured out our pain in wine and tears and something that felt like freedom. But she did tell her one thing: she knew she had been cheating. And she told her that I had moved. That I'd taken a new job. That I had a new life, in a new town, with no trace left behind. Oh, and that she was separating from her husband. Another betrayal, exposed. Apparently, my ex cried for days. Took a week off work. But in the end, she ran straight back into the arms of the married men who helped ruin it all in the first place. She never found out where I went. She never heard from me again. The only thread left connecting me to that chapter of my life was her mother, and to this day, she has kept everything quiet. She holds that final secret, locked away. And me? I moved on. Clean break. New start. Ghosted her so hard, even the word ghost would blush. Now, I know how some people wanted this to end, with one last phone call. A civil conversation. Some closure. Maybe even me saying, "Oh, by the way, I slept with your mom." But sometimes silence is louder than revenge. And disappearing? That was the loudest thing I ever did.